What is weighing on your mind that you may need advice on? Would I be unreasonable for telling my wife to stop policing my stepdaughter's weight? I've basically raised my daughter since she was a 12-year-old, and she's been my princess considering that she only has brothers. She's always been overweight, and my wife has been policing her on it incessantly. Here's the thing though, she'll let our sons eat whatever they want. Our sons have pretty fast metabolism, so they don't really gain a lot of noticeable weight, which is surprising considering they basically just sit on the couch and play game all day. My wife will tell our daughter that it's not that she doesn't want her to eat what her brothers are eating, it's just that she's watching out for her. It doesn't help that after my stepdaughter has eaten, her mom will basically force her on the treadmill while her brothers veg out on the couch eating a complete bag of chips by themselves. It's gotten to the point where I've caught my wife rummaging through our daughter's bank statements, and basically shaming her for how much money she spends on food a month. Our daughter is basically a crying mess while my wife yells at her asking her if she wants to die early of a heart attack or just putting fears in her head. It doesn't help that our daughter has pretty bad anxiety, something that she's had to recently become medicated on to help cope with. My stepdaughter has a full-time job in retail, so she's obviously on her feet a lot, and she really enjoys being outside with the dogs and doing stuff around the ranch whenever I ask her to. She's also played sports most of high school. Meanwhile, her brothers never do the work I ask them to do and instead just sit on the couch playing games and eating whatever trash food my wife has brought for them to eat. I really don't know where all of this is coming from, but my wife is horribly stubborn, and once she's latched onto an idea she sticks to it. She also does this weird thing where she'll ask my stepdaughter if she thinks she's ugly or fat compared to her skinnier cousins who she hangs out a lot with. They're very skinny, but just like my sons, all I ever really see them doing is sitting on the couch or eating fast food. So while they're skinny, they're not necessarily the healthiest. Also, my stepdaughter will proudly show the wife clothes she bought, such as dresses, and my wife always has to say something along the lines of, "Oh well, you'd look perfect in that if you were skinnier," and I can only just listen from the other room wondering why the F she thinks that's okay to say. I feel like this is something I can't really bring up because my wife will just shut me down by saying something about how it's just a girl thing. Would I be the bad guy if I told her to stop it and let our stepdaughter live in peace? Am I the unreasonable one for wanting to bring the partner of my brother to his funeral? A little over a month ago, my little brother, who was 26, passed away in a motorcycle accident. His death was so sudden and it's hit my family very hard. I honestly still can't believe it. With COVID and now this unexpected loss, we had no idea how to organize a funeral while dealing with our grief. My brother always said he wanted to be cremated when he died, so at least we were able to honor his wish. It also made it a little easier to take our time to plan a proper service for him without worrying about his body. The week my brother passed, I drove to his apartment to pick up some of his stuff and met his roommate, I'll call him M, who my sister already told the news. Only I came to find out M was more than that. He was my brother's boyfriend of 5 years. He was so heartbroken and upset he didn't even try to hide the fact that they were a couple. While I was a bit surprised, I had my suspicion growing up that he might like guys, but I never said anything. Being his older brother and all, I figured he'd come to me when he was ready. I wound up staying for hours talking to him about my brother and going through photos. Since then I kept contact with him to see how he's coping, and I started visiting a lot just so we both had someone to talk to. He's a great guy and I'm really happy my brother found someone like him to spend his years with. Having these talks with him have also made me feel a lot closer to my brother again. My brother distanced himself from our family at 18 and didn't keep much contact with anyone, even me, despite us being as close as two brothers can be. Which, looking back now, I guess I can see why. My family was finally able to organize a proper funeral service for my brother. The service is scheduled for this Friday. We're still limited on how many people can be there, so only close family will be attending and it'll be live streamed for everyone else. I really think Em should be at the funeral. He just lost the love of his life and he really wants to be there too. We decided to tell my parents he's a really close friend of my brother's. My sister, who apparently knew about them, flipped when she found out. She told me not to bring him because our parents will question who he is and it might expose the truth about my brother being gay since they never met him before. We argued over this and she pretty much thinks I'd be an a-hole for letting him possibly face ridicule from our family if they found out who he was. They're all close-minded. And also a terrible son if I upset my parents over my brother being gay while they're still grieving him. This is all if they find out. I don't know if they will, but it still doesn't seem fair to not let him be there when he was such an important person in my brother's life. I feel like it's only right to bring him, but maybe I'm letting my emotions get the best of me and maybe someone with a different perspective can tell me. Am I the unreasonable one? Update. Thank you so much to everyone for your support and assuring me we're doing the right thing here. Also, I did want to say, since people keep telling me to warn M about my family, he is well aware of how they are since my brother told him all about them and knows what he might be dealing with if anyone finds out. He still made the choice to be there and prefers being introduced as only my brother's best friend, not because of my family's homophobic views, but because he wants peace for himself at the funeral. If anyone does find out though, he won't be alone. I'll be standing by his side, so anybody wanting to cause problems will be dealing with me. So please don't worry, I won't let anyone ruin this last chance for us to say goodbye to my dear baby brother. My 28 years old male parents, 60s MF, are about to meet my girlfriend, 26 years old female, and they're going to be weird about her weight. What do? I have found what could very likely be the girl of my dreams. I could accurately use any cliché in the book to describe this woman. My world went from black and white to color when I met her. She knows me better than I know myself, and I feel complete for the first time. We've been dating for 2 years. We're planning to move in together. She's never met my parents, and it's starting to become obvious that I'm putting it off. I keep putting it off, because I know my parents won't like her. My parents have very antiquated views about what a woman should be, and one of those things is thin. My girlfriend has an eating disorder. She is 5 feet 2 inches and roughly 200 pounds. My family thinks if a woman is overweight it means she's infertile, self-centered, doesn't care if her man finds her attractive, inactive, poor impulse control, and not a contributing member of society. I could go on and on. First of all, my girlfriend has been an athlete her whole life and competed at a national level all through college. She went to an Ivy League school, graduated with Latin honors, and is the youngest person to ever have the job she has where she works. She's unfreaking believable. She's so used to being the best and succeeding at things that her weight is a major sticking point for her and something she is very sensitive about. I don't know how to handle it with my parents if they make a comment. They did it to my brother's old girlfriend, no reason to believe it won't happen again. Or if they're just generally hostile. I've told her my parents are from a different time and place and are very sexist, and whether or not they like her will have no bearing on how I view her. But I still don't know how to handle this. My girlfriend really wants my family to like her since we're going to move in together, and I don't know what to do about this. Usually we talk things out very directly, but her eating disorder stems from a traumatic period in her life, so discussing it has to be handled carefully, and I'm not sure how to basically say my parents are kind of morally bankrupt in some ways without ruining any chance of a relationship between the three of them. Should I call my parents beforehand and tell them if they plan to be rude they'll just never meet her? Or tell my girlfriend if something happens she is my blessing to say go F yourself and walk out? Or something else entirely? I'm freaking out about this. TLDR, my girlfriend is overweight. I don't care at all. She wears it well and is a perfect 10. I've been putting off introducing her to my parents because I know they'll make a huge deal out of it and embarrass her. We're moving in together and I can't put off introducing them. How do I head this off? Am I the unreasonable one for telling my mom that she sucks as a mother and that she should pay for my therapy? When I was 3, my mom divorced my dad because she fell in love with stepdad 1, who instantly moved in with me and mom. Mom got me a nanny and started spending all her time with her new man. I remember many instances in which I asked her to take me to the park/movies and she'd respond that the nanny should take me, because that was her job. My childhood was not entirely bad because over the years I actually got to bond with stepdad 1 and he would make an effort to include me in their activities. When I was 15, my mom fell for someone else and broke up with stepdad 1, who just moved out one day and I never got to hear from him again. About a week after stepdad 1 moved out, I met stepdad 2, and a week after that stepdad 2 moved in with us. I didn't really like him and he didn't really like me. But we were civil to each other until one day. That day, Mom and stepdad 2 were supposed to go to a theater show that was to start at 7 p.m. It was about 6:45 already and they were still on the couch watching TV. So I asked them if the show was off. I didn't get a clear response, so I asked a few more times what were they going to do. Well, stepdad 2 got mad. He started screaming that I have no right to ask him to leave the house. Mom got mad too and sent me to my room, but I could still hear him saying that he can't live with me anymore. After a few more minutes, my mom came into my room and told me to pack my bags and go live with my grandma. Long story short, I lived with my grandma for about 2 months, having no contact with my mom, until she called and told me to come home. When I got home there was nobody there and all my mom's stuff was gone. I called my mom and she told me that she moved in with stepdad 2 and that she will continue to give me money, but I would have to live alone. Right now I am 22 and in grad school. I only have a part-time job that doesn't pay much, so my mom still covers some of my expenses. I have an amazing boyfriend, but I found myself having some unhealthy reactions in the relationship, so I started going to therapy, where I realized that I do have abandonment issues and started to work on them. Now this is where I might be an a-hole. When I first went to therapy, I also started asking my mom for some extra money to cover its cost. My mom has a great salary and money has never been an issue. She just doesn't believe in therapy and has been continuously asking me why do I even need it, telling me that I have no issues and that therapy is just a fad. At one point, I snapped and told her, well, I actually do have a lot of issues and you're the cause of every one of them. You were a horrible mother and neglected me for any man that crossed your path. So if anyone should pay for my therapy, that's you. She started crying. I left her place and we haven't spoken for 2 weeks. I'm starting to think that I was too harsh and my guilt is eating me up. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my sister I wouldn't be her surrogate despite already having been a surrogate for some friends? Long story short, I have been a surrogate for 3 friends and their partners, and have started my own family along the way. Surrogacy is something I found very fulfilling. 2 of them were for same-sex couples, and the other was just for a friend who wanted to embrace parenthood on her own. In every pregnancy I've had, I've asked for just hospital visits covered and maybe some odd cravings delivered to me at 3 a.m. All my friends have gone above and beyond helping me through all my pregnancies, and I've been involved in their new lives and the children I've given birth to since day one. I will admit it's hard at times to let go of them since they have been with me for 9 months, but seeing their parents ecstatic just makes it all go away. About a month ago I get a call from my twin sister, who has been married for about 10 years now. It's obvious to everyone in the family that I've apparently absorbed all the fertility out of her when we were on the womb. Me and my sister have never gotten along for some odd reason, and we barely ever talk now. We were never overly bitter at each other, we were always just interested in different things growing up. She basically goes straight to business, like always, and tells me that her and her husband have finally decided that I would be their surrogate. Now I'm taken aback by how straightforward this was, since I've heard nothing about this from anyone. I just tell her I can't since I've already decided I wouldn't have any more kids, and that's when the whole mess starts. She asks me if it's not some sort of business I've started to help me and my family financially. She gets upset and demands why I would rather have kids for other people and asks me if I really hate her so much. I ask why she can't just adopt or have someone else be their surrogate, and she says she and her husband have decided that having the child be more biologically close to them would be best. I'm taken aback by this because I have never loved my oldest son less because he was biologically different to us. This really upsets me, and I hang up. The next month would be hell from all sides. My dad calls and asks me why I would rather have other men have at me than help my own sister fulfill her dream of having a family. My mom calls me crying and demands to know why I love my friends more than my own sister. The real freaking kicker is when my brother-in-law's mother calls me and basically guilt trips me by saying that their whole family has had trouble with fertility, and their only wish is to see their son be happy. Now I just feel extremely guilty and I'm questioning my own decisions despite my husband telling me if I've decided enough is enough, then no one can tell me otherwise. Am I the unreasonable one for having other people's kids, but not helping my sister? Update. Thank you all for the support. I have decided, with the help of my husband and all of you, that I'll donate my eggs to my sister if she'd like them. It was honestly not a decision I considered before. I really would have loved to help my sister, but her unannounced and everyone just guilt-tripping me wasn't helping. She's honestly a sweet person when she wants to be, but she can be demanding at times, and I don't know if maybe there's some misunderstanding between us. I'm sure this won't somehow magically fix our strained relationship, but it's the least I could do. I, 50, will serve wife, 48, with divorce papers tomorrow morning, but getting cold feet. So, everything's all set for the divorce papers to be served to my wife tomorrow morning, but I'm having all sorts of doubts as to whether this is the right thing to do or not. I'm basically getting cold feet. We've been married for almost 20 years and 15 of them have been rocky. She is someone who I would consider to be very paranoid. She wants locks on every door and she keeps the keys to herself, so I can't have access to many rooms in the house. This all started towards the beginning of our marriage, where I had violated her privacy by going through her dresser, looking for something. Since then, she's gotten progressively more strict on keeping things to herself, which, to be fair, is mostly okay with me. I totally understand that what I did was a complete a-hole move and her locking up her private things is right and justified. But, in the past couple of years, it's extended to the doors to the house. So, now, we have door latches on the exterior doors and she locks up the house when I leave for work. She doesn't work, and I literally cannot get back home until she allows me in. And, lately, this has meant I have to sit at work until around 9 p.m. or later until she's okay with me going home, and I'm getting really tired of this. When I tell her this, her response is basically "it's your fault," stemming back to the original sin I committed. If that were it, maybe I could deal with it. But the other big thing she does is that she'll have meltdowns in public if I do something that annoys her or scares her. For example, last week we went to Walmart and we were looking for the bathroom and was told to go to the back of the store. So, we went. But the aisle leading to the bathroom was blocked because they closed off the whole section. I saw that and said something like, "Dang, it's blocked." She hates it when I say anything negative and responded by saying, "Shut your mouth. You haven't even looked." I got a little snippy and said, "Shut your mouth, really? I was just pointing out the obvious. No need to get mad at me." Now, she thinks I threw an F-bomb in there, but I'm not so sure I did. But, in any case, that was enough for her to go off and we literally sat inside Walmart for 4 hours while she melted down. Her anxiety is over the fact that I hate wasting nights doing this and have told her that this is a real relationship breaker. So she gets really anxious that I'm going to leave her over things like this and it just spirals out of control from there and she won't move no matter what. So, rightfully so that she is scared I'm leaving her over this, because I basically am. But, I really don't feel good about it because it's obvious to me that she's got some real mental health issues to deal with and I'm just abandoning her. We have talked many times about this and it always comes down to her saying that she wouldn't have these problems if I didn't do these things to cause them. I'm just rambling right now because I'm so nervous about tomorrow morning and don't know what to do. I'm not even sure why I'm posting this because I'm ranting without a point. Sorry. Am I the unreasonable one for asking for an apology from a mom in front of her kids? I, 25F, am traveling for work and staying at a hotel. I was sitting in my room and I hear yelling and screaming from the other room. It sounds like there are people running into walls and the TV is blasting. I am used to some noise in hotels, it is only natural. But this was excessive to say the least. Over the next hour the noise continued and based on it I could tell it was at least a mother and her children. I knew this because it seemed like every 10 minutes the mom would knock on the door telling her kids to let her in until I heard the door finally open then slam shut and the mom yelling at her kids. Then the door would open and close again and 10 minutes later we started knocking to be let in again. After an hour I heard a knock and thought it was on my door so I checked. It was for the room next door. It was guest services telling the mother that 911 had contacted the hotel because her room number was calling repeatedly. The mother didn't say anything, just closing the door and guest services left. Another 30 minutes of this routine and I was done. So I asked to be put in a different room for the remainder of my stay. They were very accommodating and moved my room and upgraded me, already aware of the trouble that room was causing. I went back to my original room and packed my things up. It's now about 9 at night and I leave my room suitcase in tow. The mother from the room next to mine was out in the hallway. She stops me and asked if I had heard her kids making noise. I was honest and said that, yes, I heard them. Then she asked if that was the reason I was leaving and again I told her, yes, I needed to be able to sleep for work. She told me to wait because she wanted her kids to apologize to me. I told her this was not necessary. I understood things like this happened because I did not want to prolong this experience anymore. She kept insisting and would walk in front of me if I tried to leave. Then she called her kids into the hallway. There were 4 of them and the oldest could not have been more than 9. Then the mother lectured them about how their actions had affected me and ruined my night, then made each of them apologize individually. I decided to be pleasant through this because the kids did not deserve a bad attitude from me. I accepted the kids' apologies, but was immensely fed up with the mother. Then I turned to her and waited. She seemed lost. I told her that her actions were not acceptable and had ruined my night and I needed an apology from her. She was to properly watching her children. She hustled her children through the door and began telling me that I was an a-hole for saying that about her in front of her children, and it was not my place to have such opinions. I knew arguing would get me no further so I just walked away. I could hear however as I walked down the hallway her banging on the door again for her kids to let her in. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.